So today we're going to talk about the 5 worst mistakes that real estate investors make. I hope you're doing great tonight. So we're going to start the show just in a few minutes. I want to get a bunch of people on the line. I hope you're doing great. So we're going to be doing a lot more live shows. I'm really excited about this. So if you're new to the Investing in Real Estate channel, we produce a number of videos every week in helping you, in an effort to try to help you become a real estate investor. We teach you everything from, setting up your LLCs to tax benefits, to how to find the best deals, how to structure your entities, your checking accounts, and all of those pieces in order to make sure that you have the best legal structure, the best bank account structure, all of those different pieces I want to make sure that you guys have. So thanks everyone. We're going to start the show just in a few moments. Tonight we're going to be talking about the 5 worst mistakes that real estate investors make. Jonathan, welcome to the show. Bye Pie, welcome to the show. So we'll save some Q&A for a little bit later in tonight's episode. Love to find out where everyone is coming in from. Chris, welcome in, Chris. Luhan. Hey, Jason, UFC Fan Nation from Iowa, welcome in. Welcome in all of you guys tonight. I'm trying to get the camera adjusted properly. Arkansas, welcome in, Grant. I'm up here in our mountain house for the weekend, or for the week. Coming in from Chicago, Michael, welcome in, Michael. Michael has a great story to share, by the way. In fact, Michael, I would love to have you on the podcast to tell your refinancing story. I think he purchased a property from us for like in the 40s, mid 40s, and you just did a refinance, pulled money equity right back out of the property, and is ready to start shopping for second properties. I love stories like that because we have investors that do that all the time. So love that you had a great success. I think you bought it for like in the mid 40s, and I think it appraised out in the mid 50s, which is great, or 53,000, which is great after the rehab. So that's great. So thank you for sharing that story with us today. 45.5, you bought it for 45.5, and it appraised for 53 after the rehab. Awesome. And you're able to pull that equity right back out again. That's sweet, Michael. Sweet. So thanks so much for sharing that story. It's like twilight here in the mountains. Hopefully it won't get too dark. Hercules wants to know, do I need to own my property to work with Lima One Capital? No. I mean, you can buy rental properties through Lima One any day of the week. Frederick from Chicago, enjoy your videos. Thank you so much. And hopefully you guys are subscribers to the channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, Eddie wants to know, what do we think of tax deed properties to get started with investing? I always say it really doesn't matter what type of property it is, foreclosure, tax deed, short sale, I don't care what it is, as long as you're able to find a great deal and you have a team in place that can make sure you're getting it rehabbed properly and up and running and renting properly, that's all that matters. So you can find a property if a tumbleweed's rolling down the street. I don't care how it hits you in the face, as long as the numbers make sense and you're able to make sure that you can get it rehabbed and rented and up and running, and that the ROI is very high. That's all I care about, is the ROI. I don't fall in love with real estate. I fall in love with ROI, as many of you know. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the 5 worst mistakes that real estate investors make. I want to dive into these to get started with, and then we'll open up to some Q&A about tonight's topic, and I'd love to hear what's on your mind, and we will talk a little real estate investing. If you are new to the channel, welcome in. This is the Investing in Real Estate show. I'm Clayton Morris. I'm the host of this channel. We're going to be doing a ton more streaming. We're actually building a brand new studio. I'm super excited about this. We're building a brand new sort of television studio where we're going to be doing a lot of live shows, a lot of live question and answers. If I could tell you how many emails that I receive a day, I should show you someday my inbox. I get hundreds of emails a day And that's not because I'm special in any kind of way. It's because you guys have a ton of great questions. And they're all very good questions. Everything from, okay, I have an LLC in this particular state and I want to buy a property in that state. Will that cause me issues? I mean, questions like that. They're all excellent questions. What I want to start doing is a lot more live shows where we can answer a lot of these questions to help you become real estate investors, or to help you maximize your overall income, or how to mitigate your taxes in order to make sure that you're keeping more of your own money. I mean, I have questions that I asked. We just literally asked our tax accountant today in the office. We asked our tax team this afternoon a very specific question that I didn't know the answer to. So there are no stupid questions, and that's why I'm really excited about doing a lot more live shows and bringing you a lot more content. So I am up here on a family vacation in the mountains with my family this week, so I apologize for the beard. Actually, I'm thinking about growing a full-on beard because I just hate shaving. So I can't wait to not shave on a regular basis. I'm turning like David Letterman or something. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the 5 worst mistakes that real estate investors make. Let's start, and there are no particular order. These are 5 common mistakes that I see new investors make. Real estate investors who are long-term real estate investors. Maybe they've owned a property for many, many years. It doesn't matter. These are 5 common mistakes, and I'm going to kind of give you ways to avoid these 5 common mistakes as well. So let's dive into it. Number 5, and I'm just going to throw this out there to you guys and see how many of you get this question correct. So in the comments thread right now, what do I like to say is the most important thing when investing in real estate? Let's see how many of you guys know how much I love it. Know how much I love this particular answer. Jeffrey Moon, you got it. You said ROI. Exactly. Grant Wade, ROI. James, ROI. I love it. Hercules, ROI. Cash flow, ROI, ROI, ROI. You guys get it. Number 5 on our list, the number 1 mistake, well, number 5, does, again, no particular order, but the first in this list, not focusing on ROI. And I can't tell you how often this happens. When I'll talk to, let me just give you an example. I think a real world example is a perfect example. I had a husband and wife out of Philadelphia. They owned a property that they lived in for a number of years in Manayunk, which is a small town just outside of Philadelphia. Cute little town, great little young family town with some breweries and some good restaurants and close enough to the city. You could take a quick Uber ride to downtown Philadelphia. They owned this townhome and they moved. Well, guess what? They kept it, right? I hear this all the time. So they kept this particular property and they tried to rent it. Great, it's renting. So they told me on the phone, this was like a year ago, they said, we want to keep this property because, we think in a number of years we'll have it paid off or paid down, and it'll start to be a great investment. And so I just said, full stop right there. I know we're talking about doing rental properties with us. That's great. But let's stop right there and let's talk about this property. I want to understand the psychology of why you're keeping this property. And they thought that if they worked on this property and got it, paid down the mortgage, maybe even increased the rent at some point, maybe even did some repairs, that eventually the return on investment would be good. So I ran the numbers with them right on the phone. I said, how much are you bringing in every month? What are you paying for a mortgage on this property? How much are you actually cash flowing at the end of the day after you're paying taxes? What do your taxes look like on this property? They hadn't accounted for their taxes in this property. When we all got finished with it, I said, look, I hate to break the news to you. You are in the negative. You are producing a negative return on investment on this property. Why are you holding on to this property? And the answer that they gave me is that they just had a sentimental value connected to this property because it was their first property they owned together, so they thought in their heads they could get this property to cash flow eventually. Again, this is going to bring us to another point on tonight's show, and that brings me to my second point. So number one, they didn't focus on ROI. They were in the red. And I said, here's what you need to do. You need to immediately call up a realtor and you need to list this property and get it sold. You're producing a negative cash flow. With your taxes, you're not breaking even, you're losing money on this property. The ROI on this property is terrible. Why are you attached to this thing? Get rid of it. So anytime you're entering into a new real estate transaction, simply run the numbers. I like to do that back of the book envelope test. You can do the 1% test if you like. That's what my father-in-law does. You know, will it produce cash flow at 1% of the purchase price? Or you can do my ROI formula, which is a very conservative ROI formula. It's not for the faint of heart because it's incredibly conservative, meaning I take out 40% for vacancy, repairs, and expenses in my formula. And I know a lot of people make fun of me for it because it's so conservative. But if you can take your monthly rent times 12, so $700 a month times 12, multiply that times 0.6, that means you're removing 40% for vacancy, repairs, expenses. What are you left with? Now, divide that by the all-in cost of the house, and that's what you're left with is your return on investment number, the ROI number. It'll be a 0.11, 0.12, 0.13, 0.10. Just move that decimal point over, and that just means it's a 10%, 11%, 12%, 13%. Look, the stock market gives you about a 2 to 3% return. So if your net ROI on that is higher than 2 to 3% net, not gross, your net ROI, okay, it's better than the stock market, but I personally like to shoot for about a 10 to 12% net return on my properties, net. But because I'm doing repairs and because we're placing a tenant in the property, I don't really worry about the repairs for 10 to 15 years. So that 40% ends up being kind of a pipe dream. At the end of the year, it ends up looking closer to that gross number than the net. I asked my wife the other day, I said, how many repairs do we end up having on our properties? What's that number look like? What's our repair percentage on all the properties that we own? And she said, I can't remember the last time that we've had a repair. And that's the point, that when you take care of the property up front, those repairs are almost non-existent. Hey, thanks, MJ Lindval. Thanks for the great backdrop. Yeah, we're up here in the mountains, so let's give you a little preview here of what this. Actually, the light over here is a little bit better, huh? That's way better, actually. Sorry about that. So here's our little log cabin up here in the woods. I don't know if that's a little too pixelated. Does that look all right? And there's the lake. I don't know if you can see the lake right down there. So you got some puzzles out here. Yeah, the light is, it's twilight out here on the lake. So let me just try to get a little better picture for you guys. And I'm sorry for the jumpiness. I don't have tripods. I don't have any of our studio stuff set up tonight. So I'm just kind of winging it. I hope this is okay and you don't mind this. I apologize. So let me move to the second one in this list out of the 5 because this brings me to my next point. So first is not focusing on ROI. The second is investing emotionally, which if I go back to my Philadelphia example with this particular couple, they were investing emotionally in this rental property. They weren't investing with their heads. They were investing from their hearts, which is okay. It's sweet. It's adorable, that they wanted to keep this property. Sean, welcome to the channel. Thanks so much, Sean. He just recently discovered the channel. Yes, we all have a lot of emotions, but real estate, I don't fall in love with real estate. It's 4 walls and a roof. And someone needs to live in a property. Someone needs to live in these particular areas. So why shouldn't you own those properties? One of my mentors in this business, Robert Sheeman, he likes to say that when he drives down the street, he'll see high-end properties, mediocre properties, low-end properties, and guess what? Somebody's living in almost all of them. Why shouldn't he own them? So don't get emotional about real estate. Let me just show you this house, right? Pull this off here. So this is our mountain place, right? It's got 4 walls and a roof. We actually used this place as a rental property for a little while. We did a vacation rental with this for a little while, and we didn't like that this was our place, and we just decided to stop doing that. But I didn't get emotional about it. We just wanted to spend more time up here. But the problem with that Philadelphia couple that I was explaining to you is that they were emotional about this property. They, in fact, buried their heads in the sand and did not want to even run the numbers to know what their cash flow looked like. It took me on the phone asking them, what are you paying in taxes? What are you cash flowing on this property? And the wife, actually, she kind of kept quiet. She didn't even want to admit the taxes that they had to pay on this property. And when I got the calculator out, the bottom line is that they were in the negative. She was tied emotionally to this townhome that they had purchased. So don't invest in real estate emotionally. Now, what does that mean when you're selecting properties? Well, let me give you an example. Sometimes, and Michael knows this, he's one of our investors, if we send a property to an investor, they usually sell within a few hours when we send it. And when we sometimes work with a new investor, we will say, Mary, Jonathan, we want to let you know that our properties sell within a few hours. So if you're interested in, just let us know, and we'll get you a purchase agreement. Sometimes new investors, wife, husband, they'll look at it for a few days. They'll say to themselves, well, I really wanted like an adorable little bungalow, with some nice trim and some potted plants, and they have this sort of emotional feeling because they think they're going to be living in the house. You are not going to be living in the house. And so therefore your mindset about curtains and the types of paint colors that you think you want in a property, it doesn't matter at all. You have to really come outside of yourself and realize that if you have a nice house, we take care of it and rehab it and get it cash flowing, that your sentimentality about pink or having potted plants or certain blinds hanging up or certain carpet color and all of that, it goes totally out the window. Who cares what you want? I know it's hard sometimes, but who cares what you want? No one cares what you want, right? It matters what the tenant likes. And if you know your neighborhoods like we do, then we know what's going to cash flow. We know exactly how to rehab our properties because we know and so we know exactly what it's going to look like. So I apologize. Did we skip a beat here? Hopefully not. I know that we just had a little internet hiccup here for a second, but is it still the same live stream going? Let me know if you guys can still see everything okay. The beauty of doing live. Can you guys still see everything okay? Are we all good? It's blipping a little bit. It's all good? We're back? We're all back. Good. All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, I actually had a contractor calling me and actually kicked me off the internet for a moment. Yes, I used to be on the Daily Buzz. Thanks, Rule Stein. Okay, so number one mistake that new investors make all the time is they're not focusing on return on investment, ROI. Number two, they're investing emotionally. Number three, the third biggest problem that people make when they're trying to invest in real estate is that they try to self-manage their properties, self-managing rental properties. No. Please do not try to become your own property management company. Property management companies have one of the hardest jobs in all of real estate investing. Not only do they have to deal with you, the buyer, the person who has this property, they also have to deal with the tenants. They also have to deal with the city. They have to deal with code enforcement. They have to deal with any number of issues that can arise. You do not want to be in the property management business. It is a thankless job. They work incredibly hard. And they don't make a ton of money. And you do not want to be in the self-management business. Now, I know it's alluring. If you're just starting out in real estate investing, you think you're going to save 10%, right? A typical property management company, almost every property management company I work with charges 10% a month. So if your property rents for $700 a month, take out $70 and that goes right to the property management company before they direct deposit your monthly income. I'm happy to pay that 10%. Number one, it's an expense for your company. It's an expense for your business. It's an expense for your real estate investing journey and career on your taxes. But it's also lets you off the hook. If you truly want to create passive income and financial freedom, why the hell are you managing properties yourself? The problem is that most people think they can do just one, right? So you buy one property and you think, oh, this is easy. I can manage this one property, and you rent it to your high school friend or your brother-in-law's friend, and everything's going smoothly. Sounds great, right? Well, what happens when they move out and then you get a troubling tenant in there and you're doing all of the legwork, the background checks and all of that? But it's fine. What happens if you get a second property? This is what I like to try to tell people. It sounds great when you have one property. Great. You want to self-manage it? Okay. But I don't want you to just own one rental property. How are you going to build wealth? Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth properties. I want you to then start thinking about what it would be like to have all of those managed by you as well. Because people don't think the long game well enough. They only think short term. So think about what that would be like to manage all of those properties. 10, 15 units. And then you're showing properties at night. In 10 to 15 units, chances are you're going to have a vacancy in one of them, right? And therefore, you're going to be out on 7 p.m. at night, 8 p.m. showing properties to potential tenants at night after they get off work, etc. Is that the world you want to be in? Or would you rather have that in the hands of property management teams that then can take out, show those properties at nighttime? Those particular people who are showing the properties, the leasing agents for the property management team, they get like a bonus if they get it rented to a quality tenant, etc. You do not want to be in that business. And it just adds a level of headache that you do not need. So again, don't self-manage your rental properties. It is a bad, bad mistake. All right, number 4 on this list, not forming a legal entity. The fourth biggest mistake that people make when they're getting started and realizing when they're investing in real estate is that they don't form a legal entity to buy their rental properties. Now, this is a little complicated. In the United States, our accountants have advised us to purchase real estate in a limited liability corporation. They take about 5 minutes to set up. They cost about $100 to do it. You pick a name. A lot of times our investors will just pick the street address. 123 Main Street, great. That's the property they're buying. They stick an LLC at the end of it. They file it with the state. It takes about 5 minutes to do it on the website. Incredibly easy to do. So 123 Main Street, LLC. The reason that you want to incorporate is because now your legal protection as a business owner with that property being owned inside of an LLC is incredibly beneficial. Not only from a legal perspective, but now your income is being taxed as a business opposed to an individual, right? So you're taxed at a certain tax rate as a human being, as an individual. You're taxed at a different tax rate as a business, as a limited liability company. If your tenant slips and falls and you were negligent for some reason, or the property management company was negligent, even though they have their own insurance and they're covered, chances of you being sued are pretty slim, but nevertheless, they can only come after your LLC and the value of that LLC. They cannot come after your personal assets. What does that mean? Well, that means all of the rental properties I own are in different business entities, LLCs. That means I don't want somebody suing me and then being able to come after the home I live in. I don't want people being able to come after this home. That's not something I want. I don't want that ever to happen to me. And that is a huge mistake, that if you are not invested and you don't have an LLC set up, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So please, please, please make sure you purchase properties in a limited liability corporation or some sort of business entity. If you are an international investor, we work with a lot of international investors. Canada, we actually have an investor from Slovenia who's joining us soon. China, New Zealand, you name it. Typically, international investors may set up a different structure inside the United States. So we will have Canadian investors, for instance, set up a C Corp because it offers Canadian investors a level of protection and liability protection that they would not get with a limited liability corporation because they're not American citizens. So this is very important for you to talk to your tax accountant, especially if you're an international investor. But I will tell you that inside the United States, if you're living here, then an LLC is definitely going to be one of the best ways for you to go. And again, seek the counsel of your accountants and your lawyers on that. But you are offered a level of protection in that. It's such a smart move. Now you may say to yourself, but what about buying properties with a mortgage? I won't be able to do that if I have an LLC. Well, if you've listened to my most recent podcast or one of my most recent podcasts on the Investing in Real Estate podcast on iTunes with Garrett Sutton, I would encourage all of you, go check out that interview with Garrett Sutton. He is Robert Kiyosaki's tax lawyer. And as he will attest, it's very, very simple to purchase a property in your own name, and then if you're getting a mortgage, then once the mortgage is closed, or once you close on the property, transferring it over to an LLC. It's incredibly easy to do it. Just listen to that episode. It's mind-blowing. You will definitely learn a lot about how to be able to transfer that once you have it in your own name, transferring it over to an LLC. It's very, very simple. So there you go. So that's number 4 on the list, not purchasing properties in a legal entity. Number 5 on the list, it's a simple one. It's overspending on your initial purchase. So when you're buying real estate for the first time, you're buying real estate investments for the first time, please, 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 just don't overspend. What does that mean? Well, it simply means that if you are buying properties on, the open market, and you're seeing a retail price for a property and it still needs $20,000 worth of rehab. For instance, up here in the mountains, there's a house next door over here, okay? Let me just give you an example. This is a perfect example. This house over here, can't really see it. Yeah, maybe you can in the woods a little bit. It's a blue house. It has been on the market for like a year now, and it needs a ton of work on the outside. I'm a real estate investor. I live next door to this thing. I wouldn't buy it. They're asking a retail price for this house. It needs a ton of work. Therefore, if I were to buy it, I'd have to put an additional $30,000 worth of work into the property. It needs new siding. I think it needs an updated roof. It needs a new paint job. It needs updated appliances. There's a whole slew of things it needs. It needs updated windows. So that is overpaying for that particular property. Now, it might be a good vacation rental for somebody if someone wanted to do that. There's a couple of ski resorts near here. There's a big lake right near here. So it's perfect for summer season. It's perfect for the winter. But again, if the ROI is off because I've overpaid. Now, if I could get a deal on that house and I could buy it maybe for 60% of what they're asking, or even, because I know I'm going to have to put in about 10% more for repairs so that I might still be about 70, 80% below when I'm done. Maybe. But even then, it looks like it's way overpriced. So that's the problem. People don't know where to look for deals. They overspend. They go out on the weekend because they want to become a real estate investor, and they don't run their numbers. They don't know their ROI, and they go out and they meet with a realtor, and a realtor says, well, this one's been on the market for 100 days. I think it's a really good investment. You're going to bring in $1,000 a month, and yet the property costs $200,000, and you have to put another $20,000 into it. That's not a good investment. That is not a good return on your investment. So please, please, please know your numbers and make sure you're not overpaying. Now, I overpaid on the first 2 properties I ever did. I bought them off the MLS with a realtor, and I over upgraded the property. I put in appliances. I did all sorts of like hardwood floors. I overpaid. Guess what? Do you think it's going to rent for more? I wish I would have saved that additional $15,000 in rehab because it would have rented for the same amount if I didn't do those things. And that's what you'll learn as a real estate investor. And I've got a whole video here on the channel, by the way, on things to not waste your money on when you're doing a rehab. Bathrooms, kitchens. I walk you through why you shouldn't be spending money on these additional items. Because at the end of the day, you're going to spend $15,000 more on this crap. And guess what? The property is going to rent for the same amount as if you didn't spend that extra money. So it's not worth doing these big upgrades and overspending on these cosmetic items and doing this stuff that's not going to come back to benefit you in the end. So there you go. Those are the 5 items. I'm going to run down them real quick again. 5 mistakes that real estate investors make when they're just getting started. Number 1, not focusing on ROI. That's really important. Number 2, investing emotionally. Don't invest emotionally in real estate. Number 3, trying to self-manage your properties. Please use a property management company. Please, please, please. Number 4, not forming a legal entity when you buy your rental properties. Not only to mitigate your taxes, to help you with that, but also for the liability protection that you get. It's a whole other game once you start setting up and become a business and you start buying real estate. And number 5, overspending on your initial purchase. Please, please, please don't overspend on your initial purchases. Make sure that you're buying smart, you're getting a high ROI, and you're cash flowing consistently. So those are my five tips for tonight. So let me just open it up for a few minutes to some questions and answers here. I see a lot of questions coming in, and I was trying to stay focused on getting you through these 5 tips that I wasn't able to read all of them. So let's fire off some questions here. First up, anyone have a question they'd love to answer? Love to be answered. God, I can't believe it's August and it's like 60 degrees. It does feel nice. I'm up here in the mountains of Pennsylvania. All right, Terrence says, let's say you get approved for $50K for minimum. Theoretically, you can use at least a loan to buy 2 properties at $25K. Yes, Terrence, theoretically. However, banks don't like to loan on properties below $40,000 in value. So it's going to take you some finessing to find the right bank, and then also to find a property that's also rehabbed and rented. You know, like the properties that we do are mostly pre-rehab. So a bank's going to come in and say, oh, this house isn't even rehabbed yet. It's way easier to do what Michael, who's watching, did with one of our properties, which is buy it for cash. We do the rehab, it gets cash flowed, and then you pull the money back out on the backside. So you have that $50K. You buy a property free and clear, pull that cash out, and you're able to do a refinance that way and pull that money out and buy another property that way. Banks are much more willing to work with you when they know that you rehabbed the house and now it's cash flowing. Jason Alley says, Wyoming holding company and 1 Florida LLC per property, good corporate veil. Yeah, and Jose, I'll get to yours in a second. Well, yes, absolutely. Our tax accountants have advised us to set up a holding company, LLC, in the state of Wyoming. And then in the states where we own our rental properties, we have LLCs in Indiana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and they report up to the Wyoming holding company. Now, it's important that you get a lawyer to set that portion of it up for you because they need to be able to talk to each other correctly, and that's important. Miguel, just closed on my 2nd investment property today. Happy, happy, happy. Awesome, Miguel. Congrats. Pam Dawn says, I always feel smarter after listening to you. Thanks for the info. Thank you, Pamela. Please tell my wife that. I would love for her to say the same thing. I think she's mad at me tonight. You know what? We were out on the lake today, and she said, can we just go home? Because I'm going to have to fight the baby like the whole time. And we didn't. We went to this restaurant, and then, of course, guess what? She had to fight the baby the whole time. And so she's angry with me. So I'll have to deal with that later. Mark, Henry, can you recommend property management companies? I can. It just kind of depends on where. I mean, so many, and depends on what market. Best way to purchase a first property. That's a pretty wide open question. Best way to buy your first property. Mark, no, I don't know any property management companies in Fort Lauderdale. I apologize. I'm not in that market. Best way to buy your first rental property. I mean, literally listen to what I just said tonight in these 5 tips. Make sure the numbers are right. Make sure it cash flows properly. Make sure the ROI is there. Don't manage the property yourself. Set up an LLC. Now, if you're asking me about funding and where you're going to get the money, I've got a whole bunch of videos on this channel to help you with that. How to get private money, how to use a home equity line of credit to purchase properties, all of that. So incredibly, incredibly important. You can buy them with credit cards. That's right. You can do a whole bunch of things. And if you're interested in some different funding options, we partner with a great company. If you go to our website, morrisinvest.com/funding, a fantastic way to use business credit cards in order to buy your first properties. Is Pittsburgh and Youngstown area a good area with $90 billion shell gas plant moving there? Yeah, Pittsburgh's a great area to invest. Youngstown is as well. But there's a little oversaturated, and you may pay higher in taxes. And also, I'm not a big fan of some of the crime in Pittsburgh as well. I went to school at the University of Pittsburgh, and there are some troubling areas there that it just gets to be a little hairy. So, Peter Oates, how are your Jacksonville properties doing? Fabulous. Really, really well. It's one of those few untapped areas right now of Florida where we're seeing just a ton of growth, which is great. Rulestein, buying a duplex as your primary residence is the easiest way to get into rental properties. Yeah, that's a great way too. Absolutely. That's called sort of house hacking, right? You buy a duplex, you live in one side of it, and then your tenants in the other side are paying your mortgage, basically. Best areas, Omar, you're looking to buy in Indiana. Well, reach out to my team, my friend. You're looking to buy in Indiana. That's what we do best. I've got 3 offices there. I know, we do about 50 properties a month. So trust me, I know every nook and cranny. So please, please, please book a call with our team right now. Go to our website, morrisinvest.com. Click on the schedule a consultation button. We'll jump on the phone for 30 minutes with you and help you figure that out. Rob, I have a 90K HELOC, live in California, looking at my first investment. Shoot, sorry, they're just going so fast. Oh, here I go. I can scroll back. What do you know? What areas would you recommend for a 50K range? Well, again, Rob, I mean, that's what we do all day long. We were, like, for instance, I spoke to a doctor yesterday. He's a doctor in Los Angeles. His friend is also a doctor, owns 4 properties with us, with our company, and he said, he's like, look, I own an 8-unit property in Southern California, and it's cash flowing terribly. So I'm ready to take the plunge on buying some $50,000 homes. And so he's buying, I think, two of them right now from us. And they'll cash flow about $700-800 a month. We take care of everything. We do the rehab. We place a tenant. Our goal on every property we do is between a 10 and 12% net ROI. Net. That's what we do. Let's see. I hope that helps, Rob. So that would basically get you 2 properties with a 90K HELOC. Right there, you could pick up 2 properties, boom, boom, have them cash flowing about $700 a piece, $1,400 a month in cash flow. That's the beauty of taking $90,000 and turning it into a stream of cash. Bai wants to know, Bai Pi, do I have to get a commercial loan to buy a 4-plex? No, you don't. 4 units and under is considered residential. Anything over 4 is considered commercial, so 5 and up. Everardo wants to know if I can set up a call with you. You bet, Everardo. Please, jump on our website, or you can just email me directly if you'd like as well, and I can set something up with our team. Just Clayton@morrisinvest.com. Jose wants to know, finding a good tax accountant that knows real estate exemptions. Oh, Jose, I would only recommend one company. We work with Provision Wealth out of Phoenix. Out of Scottsdale. Tom Wheelwright and his team. If you listen to my podcast, the Investing in Real Estate podcast, we've done now 3 episodes with Tom. He's the smartest tax accountant in the world. He's the most smartest real estate tax accountant in the world. He's Robert Kiyosaki's personal tax advisor. He used to work in the Treasury Department. He used to work under Ronald Reagan. Book a call with his team at Provision Wealth. They are the best when it comes to real estate investing. That's who we use. Sora and Lloyd wants to know, about to close on our 3rd investment property. So far, all for cash. Which non-bank lenders do you recommend for us to start to leverage our assets? That's a great question. Non-bank. So you're talking about private money. Now, I would say companies like Visio Lending, VISIO, Lima One Capital is another good one, but they require a minimum value of about $60,000. So they're private. They're private money. They're basically like hedge funds. They can make their own determination of what they want to lend on. So they're not governed by Fannie and Freddie and that sort of stuff. I would check there. Start with those guys. Sleep is not necessary wants to know, if we were in a housing bubble, how would that affect the business? It's too hard to answer because, to me, bubbles are specific to demographics and areas and geography. And California, for instance, may or may not be in a bubble. I mean, there's certainly areas like San Francisco absolutely look like they are because of all of the tech boom. But like where I invest, we're not in a bubble. Stable blue-collar jobs that aren't going anywhere. Minimal appreciation, slight like 1 to 2.5% appreciation, very stable. No mortgages. So you can't buy properties that I buy, frankly, with mortgages on the front end. And, well, mostly, I shouldn't say that. And you can get like, State Farm and other programs will lend on down to a low value. But it's hard to get. You have to prove income. You have to prove stable jobs. So I don't really believe we're in much of a housing bubble in most of the country. I think certain areas we might see some bubble activity. Four Season Pro wants to know, for your first few properties, is it best to buy in a state where you live, or you should be looking properties all across the country? So please listen to my podcast, the Investing in Real Estate podcast with Clayton Morris. I think episode 3, I talked about how the best properties are not in your backyard, and I explain why. So please go and listen to that episode. I walk you through step by step why that's not the case, why investing in your own backyard is a huge mistake, typically, unless you happen to live in one of these great rental markets. Mike Henry, how about buying a $10,000, $15,000 duplex with cash? There's a lot of those in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Mike, please be careful, okay? I've had a lot of investors who think that there are greener pastures by buying one of these dumpy ass $10,000 to $15,000 properties because you found it on Zillow. And I love you, Mike. I'm telling you right now, that's going to be the biggest mistake you ever make. Why? Because you're not going to even have any idea how much it's going to cost you to rehab that property. Then to get it fully up and running, you don't know the history of that property, foundation problems, all kinds of issues, right? My team will walk these properties, make sure that we know what we're doing before we buy it. We have our contractors, we have our inspection team, we go through it, we know what we're buying. So please be careful, Mike. I know it can be alluring to buy one of these things. If you're a one-off investor and you come into one of these one-horse towns and you start hiring contractors, they're going to see you as it's like, it's going to be like the vultures are going to be hovering over you and be like, this guy Mike, he bought this property. Yeah, Mike, we'll fix it for you. $40,000. Rehab will cost you $40,000. What? I thought it would only cost me like $20,000. Yeah, we noticed some things we didn't find before. Okay, let me get another opinion. You're going to go across town, try to find another contractor. And now it's winter time. And now it's November and December. Guess what? A big snowstorm is coming. Now you own this piece of crap property, and the city wants to start putting violation letters on your front door because you know what? It's vacant, and you have broken windows, okay? And this contractors don't want to touch it because it's winter. So you need to be very careful. Just please be very careful. Rob, California is not good for cash flow. No, it is not. I would say 80% of the investors that we work with at Morris Invest are from California. No joke. And half of my extended family is from California. Father-in-law, mother-in-law. They all own properties through us. And California they live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Just as an example, the same property that my mother-in-law was able to buy with us, she bought in Tracy, California, and spent $400,000 on the same square footage, same bedroom, bathroom count. She just sold it 2 years ago and said, I'm done. So just to give you some perspective on how much she then ended up buying one with us, which was like $45,000. Vanessa wants to know, is it better to rent to Section 8 or regular? Personal preference, Vanessa. I love Section 8 tenants. You know why? Because the city, does an inspection on it. They make sure that it's ready to go. They have to have income, and they tend to stay a long time. You can typically do like longer leases with a tenant like that. I love Section 8. The only downside I really find from Section 8 is the amount of time it can take to get your money from the state. Meaning, when you get a Section 8 tenant into a property, they usually, I think, they accumulate the money. It depends on the state, anywhere from 60 to 90 days before they cut you a check. That doesn't mean you're not earning during that time. It just means it'll take you about 90 days to finally get that first rent check. If you want to start cash flowing immediately, then that's not the route for you. You also can tend to get a higher rent amount with Section 8 tenants. So to each their own. I like both of them. I have Section 8 tenants, but I also have regular tenants. What do I know about commercial lending? Terrence, I don't know a lot about commercial lending. I really don't. There are some different laws that govern commercial lending and how many you can bundle together in a portfolio. So that's something you definitely want to speak to a commercial lender. They're governed by different laws. I don't do anything in the commercial space, so I apologize on that. James wants to know where your typical turnkey property is located state-wise. We are in Indiana, Michigan, Florida, and Ohio. Joe wants to know, cash out refinance for 15 years or 30 years? You know, to me, I would rather go for the lower interest rate and just funnel all of that cash flow directly towards that primary balance, whether it's a 15 or 30 year. So I would go for the lower interest rate, frankly. After how many properties should you consider having a property management company? I would say after the first one. Well, thank you guys. You guys have so many great questions. Holy smokes. Q McCall wants to know, after the first property is acquired, how easy it to pull cash out. It should be very easy, and you can do it pretty quickly. I think, like one of our investors is on here on the live stream tonight, and I think he just closed in June, and he was already able to pull the cash out of that property. Or maybe in the spring, I think, was closed and was already able to pull the cash out, and it's now August, so just a few months. Others can happen, can happen very quickly. Depends on how quickly and what bank you're working with. Some will require, 6 months seasoning for you to hold it, others a year. It really just depends on who you're working with. John Doe wants to know, are you still aggressively snagging up properties? Oh yeah, in fact, my wife and I just bought 2 yesterday. We bought 2 properties yesterday. I wish we could keep all of our properties, but it comes down to capital. So no, my wife came to me yesterday and said, we've got, our accountants have advised us we need to buy more properties ASAP. So we acquired 2 properties yesterday. If I buy from Morris Invest in cash, how long before I can cash refi? Oh, like I said, I'm sorry, I already answered that question a moment ago. Very quickly, depending on the bank you're working with or the lender that you're working with. Everardo wants to know, I purchased a 4-unit with leverage and was not able to put the property in an LLC. Do I wait to pay it off and then open an LLC? You can, no. Again, Everardo, go listen to my episode with Garrett Sutton on my podcast. Go to the iTunes store right now, subscribe, listen to my episode with Garrett Sutton. I think it was like 4 episodes ago. The Investing in Real Estate podcast is the name of it. Garrett explains how to exactly do this with leverage and an LLC transfer after purchase. Go listen to that. Mike, the property you're thinking about buying is an 8-unit apartment building in a small unincorporated community with a population of 342 people. I don't know, Mike. Again, I come back to what I know. The reason I love the markets and the territories that I invest in is because of the stable blue-collar jobs that are there. For instance, in Indianapolis, where I invest, where my team is located, the properties that I buy are right next to the hospitals. They're right next to the post office, to the Amazon distribution center. These are areas, the FedEx distribution hub, the NCAA headquarters, the convention center. These are all huge employers and drives enormous amount of jobs that are not going to China, that are not going to Mexico, that during a recession don't go away. The hospital, doesn't cut staff, nurses, postal employees, those type of people. During a recession, did not see one dip in my rental income. So a 342 population town, I don't know. I don't like those lottery numbers very much. Again, I think you're being a little, I know you're trying to analyze this deal. Just please be aware of the jobs and what does the local economy look like. For instance, I like the towns that I'm in because the vacancy rate is very, very low. It's like 5%. You go to places like Memphis. Memphis has over 20% vacancy rate, and the crime is incredible. It's like over 20%. I mean, the crime rate is ridiculous. So just be aware of where you're buying. Like where I like to invest is like under 5%. So Rob, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to turn this into anything about me really, but just go over to our website if you're interested. That's what we do. I mean, I'm a real estate investor. I've been through the ringer. I've rehabbed thousands of homes. So that's what my company does. Rob says, hey, can you give a brief overview of what you do with your company? I thought you just invest, so can we invest with you? I run Morris Invest, which is a large turnkey rental company, which our goal on every property we do is between a 10 and 12% net ROI. And our average property prices are between $40,000 and $50,000, although we just started some brand new construction properties that are $68,000, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they use cash flow $900 a month. And that's it. We take care of everything. You call us, you book a call with our team. We really want to know what your freedom number looks like, meaning your financial freedom number. You can download the free cheat sheet, by the way, if you haven't already downloaded our cheat sheet. Just go to morrisinvest.com/freedom. It's free. It's like 3 pages, and it'll kind of walk you through how to figure out what your freedom number looks like, how many rental properties it would take for you to achieve financial freedom, given our formula. I hope that helps. Thank you, Anthony. You said I do a great job, Morris. Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate that. James wants to know, do you offer 40 to 60K all-in turnkey houses in Florida, Michigan, and Ohio? Yes, sir. That's what we do. That's what I do all day long. Vanessa wants to know, how long should you hold on to a property? Our goal in-house is to hold on to our properties for the rest of our lives. I want to hand my properties down to my children, which is the way that I've structured them with our estate. I don't ever want to sell my properties. We'll go through economic downturns. Maybe the values will drop 5,000, 10,000 at some point. Who knows? 10 years from now, 5 years from now. Guess what? They're going to go back up. And I don't care. You know why? Because the cash flow will stay the same. That same $700 a month in rent is not going to go down. It's going to stay consistent. Thank you, Rob. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. John wants to know, what resources do you use to analyze markets? Again, on this YouTube channel, I talk about crime data. I talk about job growth. I talk about a lot of those different things right here on this YouTube channel. We've got a whole bunch of videos that kind of walk you through that. Basically, I look for crime. I don't care much about crime, to be honest with you. Crime data websites are pretty awful, so I want to make sure that my houses aren't getting blown up. But when you drive down the streets of the properties that I own, everyone's at work. They're blue-collar neighborhoods. I've got property walkthrough videos on our website here as well on YouTube. I look for vacancy rates. I want our vacancy rates to be low because, after all, I want my properties to cash flow. I don't want high vacancy rates like you get in places like Memphis and Little Rock, Arkansas, those types of places. Plus, we have. But job growth, I want stable blue-collar jobs. And also I love boring. I want my markets to be very boring, low volatility, and all of that. Anthony, have I ever thought about land investing? No toilets or tenants? Yes, I have. However, in a down economy, people that own land or people that rent land, they want to drive ATVs on them and those types of things, they don't tend to hold on to that. They're much more likely to retain the house that they live in. They're also much more likely to retain the car that they drive. If they're renting a piece of land so they can go enjoy some ATV off-roading with their son or skeet shooting or whatever, they will likely drop the ball on that land investment, and therefore you're left holding the bag. Also, you don't get to enjoy the tax benefits of owning land in the way that you do with owning rental real estate, being able to claim depreciation. There's a whole host of reasons why I'm not, I like land. Land's fine, but there's a whole host of reasons why owning rental properties is a better. To me, owning rental real estate is the #1 way to build wealth in this country. Bottom line, there is no better investment. There's no better investment. Not even land. Land is like maybe the closest, but it's still not good enough. What is my opinion about apartment buildings? People ask me that all the time. I've had great success and I've achieved financial freedom by buying single family homes because they have a yard and the driveway, and that's what I know. And I know that tenants will stay a long time. They come home after a long day at work and they feel like it's their house. When you have a 10-unit apartment complex, they're great. You're always going to have a vacancy. It's incredibly rare that you'll be fully stocked, fully occupied. You're going to be continually fixing things. Anytime you have, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, on and on and up, multifamilies. Some multifamilies can be great if they're large, but I'm telling you, large multifamilies, you're always going to be dealing with vacancies. So, but again, Grant knows multifamilies. He likes them. He's a commercial real estate investor. I'm a residential real estate investor. I've achieved financial freedom from doing what I do best, which is staying focused on single family homes. And I can't speak to how other people, look, you can invest in storage facilities, you can invest in mobile home parks, you can invest in commercial real estate, you can invest in residential real estate, you can invest in multifamilies, you can invest in billboards, you can invest in land, as Anthony was just saying. There's any number of ways you can invest in real estate. Find one way that makes sense for you. Don't go 8 different directions, though. Stick to one course of action that works well for you and achieve financial freedom. So this channel, we talk all about residential real estate, buy and hold investing, and mostly I do single family homes. So that's what this channel is all about. I don't really talk about commercial. So if you're interested in commercial, I hate to burst your bubble, but please, please, please don't seek my advice on large commercial properties. That's not what I do. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. I've taken up enough of your time tonight. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber to this YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. We're going to be doing a lot more live events as we build the new studio, the Morris Invest television studio. I cannot wait. We're going to be doing live Q&A sessions just like this. You can bring your heavy questions. Natalie and I will both be on here. We're going to be having expert guests live as well. Folks like Robert Kiyosaki, Garrett Sutton, Tom Wheelwright. We're going to be doing live interaction stuff. I cannot wait. So thank you guys so much. Yes, as everyone's saying here, smash the like button. Can you guys hit the like button? We have 110 people watching live at this very moment. Can you hit all the thumbs up button right now for me? Pound it, pound it, pound it, pound it, pound it. I never asked for it, and I just had one of our viewers say, smash the like button. Yes, smash the like button. Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks, everyone, for all of your kind words. I really appreciate it. Smash that like button. Let's see if we can get it up over 100 before I sign off here for the night. For all of you, any comments we didn't get to, please just please leave them. Gene, thank you so much, Gene. Jeffrey, thank you so much. You're very kind. And again, please reach out to me if you have any further questions. I'm happy to help. Set up a call with our team. That's what we do. We eat, breathe this stuff. And also, what I love about real estate investing is that there's nothing we cannot fix. There's no problem that we can't fix. Tenant needs an eviction? Great. Get an eviction. Get a new tenant in there. Roof is leaky? Great. Put on a new roof. Fix the roof. Water heater breaks? Great. Get a new water heater. You get a violation letter from the city of Phoenix? Great. Deal with it. There is nothing you can't fix in real estate investing. And that's the beauty of this business. Thank you, guys. Love you guys. Have a great night, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Rob. I'm looking forward to working with you, my friend. Reach out to me. I'm happy to jump on a call. Again, reach out. Thanks, guys. I really love talking with you guys. And thanks for all of your really great questions. You guys gave me a ton of great questions, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Much love to you all, everyone. Thanks, Omar. Thanks, Joyce. Love you guys.